So now we begin.
Yes, well, welcome everyone. My name is Krasi and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Our session is an interactive workshop on a concept that probably, hopefully intrigued you, the empathy gap. So what are we going to do together today? We wanted to briefly give you an insight of how the session is going to run. So we first would provide some overview information into empathy. Why do we care about empathy? Why we are passionate? And hopefully, why should you care? Then quickly after, we will dive into the focus of the session, which is the empathy gap. And last but not least, we plan to have a little bit of fun with you together through a series of activities. My name is Krasi, and I'm the Strategy Director of Outcome. And I'm here today with my colleague, Diana.
Sorry, Natalie said if you could share the screen instead of doing the integration. So if you double click on the slide, so just double click on the slide.
Maybe you do it. It doesn't work.
I don't have the rights to share.
So what do you want to do? Sorry.
Yes, there we go. So I moved it to the presentation mode. Okay, so let's continue.
Okay, cool. To kickstart the workshop today, we wanted to actually have a little icebreaker just to warm up and get into the mood of talking about empathy. And we really appreciate virtual for many reasons. First of all, it created a good environment for us to be able to connect with each other across borders, to overcome many adversities, to have fun, but also work remotely. However, we experience that there are a lot of challenges that actually block empathy in a virtual format. And we wanted to pose this question to you all. What, in your opinion and from your experiences, blocks empathy in virtual? And for that, we wanted to give you just quick 5 minutes to think about and share ideas in the board.
Nice. Let's
Really, the ideas that are coming on internet, nobody knows you're a dog. It made me laugh.
There's also, I'm trying to bring some from the chat. Empathy in virtual workspaces, respecting and accepting that we are dependent on the internet. Yes, that should sometimes, you know, maybe blame the internet for the poor bandwidth, the poor integration.
And what also stood out for me is this notion that in virtual, people tend to focus a lot on tasks versus people. I think this resonates true with me and my experience.
No, I think I'm already seeing a very interesting pattern here. We do have the connection layer, and the prerequisites for trust. Seeing someone for who they are, not having bounded conversations.
Absent feeling of people. Yes, very true. A lot of multitasking. I must say I'm guilty of that myself.
The 100 tabs opened, and you don't know where the music is coming from.
I wonder what it means, time constraints, because to some extent, virtue is perceived almost like boundless. So that kind of intrigued me. And I love whoever wrote that in virtual we can't build trusting relationships. That's quite true. And to some extent, this is one of the reasons why we wanted to talk to you today about empathy and empathy gap specifically, because we believe that if we think for a minute about the future and where we're heading, we think that future is going to be empathic. And this is for a reason, because we already had transition from the platform economy to the ecosystem economy. And in this transition, everything has changed. Now the rules of the game are different, because in the ecosystem economy, you are required as a person, entity, or a business to actually foster different kind of relationships to gain agility, to be fast, and also to be competitive. And in this environment of the ecosystem economy, what is really standing out is that there is a new currency of exchange that appears to be really important. And this currency of exchange is trust. Trust, to a lot of extent, permeates in every aspect of the value chain, regardless of the industry you are in. And trust is also quite complex and multidimensional. When we say trust, we mean trust in relationship towards our clients and users, but also trust in the relationship with our partners. And last but not least, trust in the relationship with our colleagues, the culture and the environment that we work with. And at the heart of trust, of course, to a large extent, sits empathy. However, it is not really easy to activate empathy consistently and at scale with the available tools, because there is this notion of oversimplification and to some extent linearity to think about, that the empathic journey starts by putting yourself in the customer's shoes. Yes, it starts there, but it shouldn't stop there. Empathy requires really a different approach to be able to connect meaningfully with others. And furthermore, empathy also requires a process to design for impact from the start. It is not so easy for you as a manager or also as part of the team to actually come to these really unique and interesting insights to help you make an impact from the start, which we think actually comes down from a conscious choice and decision to put the empathy at the heart of the product development. This whole notion and experience that we had with Diana for the past 3 years actually gave us some ideas and showed us clearly the need that empathy requires a different way of engagement. And we saw this pattern that it is possible to replicate and consistently activate empathy if only we look at it differently. And In our journey through this identified need and a pattern, we were able to come up with a tool which we call Active Empathy. This is a collaborative method to discover unique and empathic insights, which resides around 3 key activities: self-design, co-design, and impact design. And everything is actually rounded around a notion of needs. And of course, there are different types of needs that are addressed poorly, which give us an incentive to do something, but also needs that are difficult to identify and are not so obvious to define, but at the same time truly valuable. And in this pursuit of needs, we actually think that designing for impact requires empathy to be not only embedded in every step of the product development, but to be there at the beginning. And if you think about of this idea of the ecosystem economy, and what is happening is that we actually have no longer the luxury of being in the so-called transactional world, a world where you're acting alone. That's no longer enough, especially if you want to go after these valuable needs. You really need to shift and change your perspective and find a different way how to collaborate and partner with others in order to create this brand new world.
Sorry, I think people are still struggling a little bit to follow us. So if everyone wants to jump on the mirror board, everyone can follow me. You will see here what I'm seeing. So I'll just navigate like this. So, but like Krusty is saying, to actually co-create, despite best efforts, we discovered quite let's say, a problematic area that wasn't holistically addressed. And as we developed active empathy, we realized that there's a disconnected space into, and it lies at the center, right at the center of the interaction. And what was meaningful to us and what we got not to call as empathy gap is actually what we'll be delving into this workshop. So empathy gap is actually more than, let's say, a concept we're aiming to define, but it's actually a reality which poses very serious challenges that make our world richer and more complex. So it is because, and to ask the question, why does it even matter, is because to co-create successfully, we need to understand where the disconnects are and begin to build trust and a solid foundation for trust. So for that, within the active empathy, we created a framework to better look at the empathy gap and break it down into more attainable exercises. So there are 2 main elements to the empathy gap. So as you can see here, we have the degrees of separation, comparing priorities, actions, and values, but also we have evolving relationships from you to the customer, from the customer to their customers or users, and from the user to the market, and why not the entire world. So what makes the empathy gap powerful is that it has a very different shift that produces in focus. So instead of trying to solve the challenge, we focus on filling in and bridging in these gaps before we begin to co-create. So to put this into context and make it a bit more attainable, we decided to focus on a challenge that everyone can relate to, because empathy gaps can be encountered everywhere in many areas of our lives and activities. But this one is the fact that the world is now hybrid. And for us to better understand it, we must begin to think hybrid. But what does this mean is that when the world went from mostly in person to fully digital almost during the pandemic, the empathy gap, even though it wasn't called this way, we really felt it strongly. And now we haven't even fully developed the potential of what is possible in the digital, and we're moving to the hybrid, when yet another empathy gap can be felt. So if we recall, about a year ago, everyone was missing the behaviors and the let's say, gestures like making eye contact, shaking hands, or turn yourself when you talk to another person. And this was no longer possible in the digital, but had to play smart and think about what other ways can people attain feeling the sense of connection. And even more so when we're moving to hybrid, because you don't actually know what is going to happen. How is this actually shaping, and how deep is this transformation? But we know that these emerging practices have to now complement rather than replace the usual behaviors or the features that had to be placeholders for that connection. So to move now to the empathy gaps, we actually try to define them better. So the first empathy gap, and this is the one we were trying to first understand during this workshop, is teams staying connected in a fully digital environment, which most softwares and applications manage to do well, and kind of up the game and take it to the next level where people, depending on the way they work, whether they're remote, whether they're in office, must feel equally included and engaged. So we have actually provided a few cases here where digital features managed to help teams connect when they were working. So, for example, the pen tool stuck with us because we really liked expressing ourselves freely, even though it was a digital environment. We also have private channels that enable people to follow up through and communicate in a secure manner and not kind of get lost in the public threads where everyone is using them. The together mode also was an interesting feature that Microsoft Teams provided, where people had a shared space, and also the customizable avatars, which I thought in Butter was a really interesting addition. So instead of having a dark screen, no one to look at, you had a customized avatar. So with all that in mind, hope we didn't overwhelm you. We want to actually jump into our interactive session.
Yes, now it's time to get your hands into action and help us uncover actually a little bit more features than what we had in mind, to think about 3 platforms in case. So what we are going to do in the next 10 minutes, we are going to do a really rapid fire exercise where we would pose 2 questions to you. The first one would be to think about digital features that help bridge the gap in digital for Miro, then Slack, and then Microsoft Teams. And then the second step of the exercise is to use these features that help bridge the gap in digital to inspire you and think about, are these features actually fitted for hybrid? And what features would you suggest those platforms put in place? And we will finish each of the platform rounds with a short voting, because we are really curious to find out what are those top 3 features that you think are necessary to bridge the gap in hybrid. And we are doing this for a reason, which we will review in a little bit. So the first one in the platforming case is Miro. Hopefully all of you today in this session are familiar with it. And we are going to set now a timer and let you think for a minute. What are those features that bridge the gap in digital?
And it goes on.
And now go.
Yeah, we'll not do the music anymore, so you can hear us. We want to talk. We feel like reading your interesting ideas.
Our answer to this question, how we felt most connected in digital through Miro, is actually a tool that we use a lot, Draw with Pen. And we have a lot of fun, as you can see. This is our house dog called Odd. But I'm curious to see what others think about when it comes to features in digital. Reactions is really one of my favorite ones. I do get encouraged to see reactions on boards. I don't really know what is talking heads, but I'm curious to find out. Oh, post-its, yes, they look so real. And they match real-time colors too. Awesome. Really, thank you for the participation. I see really quite an interesting ideas. So now, in the second step, we want you to pause and reflect on those ideas that, on those features that bridge the gap in digital, and think about, are they really suited, and what else would you like Miro to bring forward for the experience in hybrid?
We're going to give you another minute for that. I think this is the harder part of the exercise. Think about, can they actually, will these babies of the pandemic, of the fully remote culture, move towards the hybrid?
Because we really feel passionate that hybrid has to overcome this notion of engagement and participation equal between the offline community, but also the digital part. And we wonder what that is. We have some ideas ourselves. When we were discussing with Diana, we thought that perhaps a notion of a priority mode would be a really interesting feature to help us make sense of who has the mic in a way when we work in a different environment. And but I'm curious to see what others have in mind.
Oh, metaverse boards. We're dreaming of that. I think
Nice.
that'd be the nicest one to
So
have.
now we would ask you to actually, each of you would be given 3 votes. So we would ask you to post your votes on those ideas in the pink post-it notes, just to see what the collective group thinks are the most interesting one, which we will take further in our interactive work together.
Okay, so we're going to give you another minute and 3 votes for each. Let me just see to the area, and we start. Now I'm thinking. I want to put my votes right.
You can put all 3 into one sticky note, so you don't have to pick 3 ideas. Perhaps one is the good one for you.
Okay, so we've got 20 seconds more. Imagine if we do that in an actual election. You have 1 minute to find your politician. And let's see the results.
Wow.
So we've got 15 votes for copy place to discuss all nothing, a live camera.
That's nice.
I need to stop a bit. So having a section on the Miro board that is weaving space for both roomies and zoomies instead of requiring roomies to be on their individual computers. Yeah, I think these are all really interesting ideas. I'm gonna take these and I'm gonna take them to the next place.
And while Diana is doing that, now we want you to quickly change hats, if I can say so, for the second rapid fire. And in the second rapid fire, we brought for you the platform which hopefully all of you have used, which is Slack. And we are now wondering, what is your experience and ideas of Slack? And if you can bring forward digital features that you really find awesome in your experience with Slack. And then we'll do the same, 1 minute. So as soon as the timer is on, we'll say go.
Oh, they're very excited. It's I don't have to prompt anyone. I'm just gonna give them some more sticky notes. There you go. Have some more. We've got plenty. You know, that's the beauty of a digital environment. You can have so many sticky notes and not feel bad about wasting paper.
Nice. Integrations, yes, that's a very important one, as I have learned the hard way today.
Yes, we're still learning. Hopin was new to us.
Yes. Emojis, yes, they're always nice.
Polls. Yeah, we use that actually quite a lot with the community, the polls. status
Cool,
feature.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the input. Really, really good. How many minutes we have? Oh,
Okay,
7 seconds. Yes, time is running fast. And now, with this warm-up in hand, we are ready to think about what features would you suggest Slack to bring forward to hybrid. So we'll do the same 1 minute brainstorm.
Yes. So, show me your best features for hybrid. Actually, we had a lot of thinking when we were thinking, like, how would you use?
I was hoping that there would be something called emergency notification that can actually alert me because, of course, you receive a lot of input when you are tagged and you are mentioned in different channels, but there is nothing that says that's really an emergency. So I was curious to see if this could be a feature in the future.
Proven that people actually don't use it every day to call it.
Of course, not everything is an emergency because then nothing is an emergency, but.
All right, so we have the easy voting, the social Be Real. I'm not familiar with that. Integrating polls.
Nice. 1 second. Cool.
You can just say 1 second, expect that everyone's going to cram the work. Okay.
I know, I need to be more empathic.
Yes, you.
So we're going to do again the voting just to be able to prioritize with your help and find the top 3 features that the group today thinks are the most relevant one for hybrid.
Okay, so we'll do that again. Okay, 10 more seconds.
Let's see who.
No pressure.
Where is the demand? What's in need? Easy voting. Yes.
So we've got easy voting, an archive to see stuff later. Exactly, that's what I wanted. And auto documenting threads. Yes, to see the power of AI, especially that mess with time, we lose so much precious information. So
we're going to take those for the next exercise, which would give you a minute of rest, a few seconds, before we do one more rapid round. And this time, the platform in case is Microsoft Teams. Hopefully you know it, I don't have to present that. And we are going to do the same thing, think about features in digital and then think about a wish list for Microsoft to bring to us in hybrid. One of our favorites when we were discussing the features in digital was the together mode. It may look funny, but we found it to be quite moving and it helps with engagement and help us somehow bridge this difficult space when you cannot be with the person you have to collaborate with, but somehow still to be closer together.
Just sometimes it feels silly, like the reaction icons. You're like, oh, they put reaction icons, but then they're like, oh, it's fun to use. They're exciting.
Yes, especially in difficult conversations, this actually can break the ice and give a bit of humor. Humor is always good. Should be more like Slack. I wonder what Microsoft would think about that.
They wouldn't like it.
Improve search, oh, definitely. Okay, nice, interesting. Thank you.
So
And
the
now,
last stretch.
yes, the last stretch.
We're going to give you another minute.
Microsoft in hybrid. What could they do? For me personally, this is supposed to be quite a difficult question to answer. So we've been talking a lot today with Diana in preparation and discussion. So one idea that I quite liked, and it's in my wish list when it comes to Microsoft, is this idea to create purpose-driven meetings, if this is even possible, to help the teams actually prompt and be prepared of how to handle whether if they gather together to have a discussion and decision meeting, or if they gather to just brainstorm, or they gather for any other reason. But if there is something as a framework to give us the best possible features and characteristics to run this most efficiently, we thought it's going to be nice.
Okay.
Microsoft VR, cool.
We've worn them out.
Yes.
But I think we're getting better and better answers. I really like this.
In-thread responses would be cool. Yes. So let's vote again.
The second to last voting. Cleaner integration to other tools. I was telling you about this morning. They are there, but it would be nice.
Can be better. I agree. Can be better.
And the Clubhouse working rooms, like the Clubhouse, the app.
Yes.
So nice.
Are we there yet or not?
8 more seconds.
Okay, cool. Oh, better UX.
Yes.
Tough one for Microsoft or anyone in that position, but a good recommendation.
And I agree with the better reaction emojis. That one is nice. And the Clubhouse is not, the direct thought you have in mind, but why not?
Definitely, why not?
A bit of thinking outside the box. Okay, so now that we've done all this voting and we fried you a little, I think one last vote wouldn't hurt, right?
And why we're doing that, we wanted to bring together from this exercise with a variety of platforms, Miro, Slack, Microsoft, very different providers for very different needs. But we were hoping that despite their differences, we would be able to uncover interesting features that matter a lot for hybrid if we distance ourselves from those platforms. So we want you to reflect for a little bit the output of these 3 voting rounds and think about, if you have to make a pick, which features do you think is most important from those that appear on the screen? So we have the live camera, coffee places, auto documenting, easy voting, better reaction emojis, better UX, Clubhouse, because we would use this feature to actually do one last exercise with the participants. But for that, we need to make a pick and we need to prioritize. So in the last round of voting, we want you to think for a minute and just use one vote this time.
Final elections,
yes.
It's what it is. You have
best, most wanted feature for hybrid. We are looking for that.
Oh, I'm struggling. I want to vote too.
Because as we were talking earlier, I think Diana mentioned that it's not enough just to think about features. We have to now stretch our thinking and see how we can how we can turn these features and bridge again the gap towards behaviors. In other words, how can we make best practices around those features that can bring them to life? And this is the last exercise that we'll do together with you once we have our most wanted feature, which I'm curious to see what that is. Oh, Diana, you have to pick. We have 3 winners.
Oh, should have given him more votes. Okay, I want someone from the chat and hoping to tell me what would be the best pick. It's a tough choice. So what do we use?
I think we should pick the last one. Having a section on the mirror board that is weaving space for both roomies and zoomies. Let's do that.
Okay, fine. We're taking it.
And now we are asking you to think about best practices and how can this feature actually bridge the gap to hybrid.
This feature also, I think it's actually pointing at the answers as it is. You know, these roomies and zoomies, the presence of a moderator, I think. I'm just gonna 4 minutes, so we also have a timer.
Maybe even less, because we only left with 5 minutes till the end of the session, so we can make it a bit shorter.
I'll cut it maybe at when there's 1 more minute left. Okay, so, and you know, just to stress a little on this idea of introducing practices and pairing them to support the digital features, we realize that we can't do wonders. There's only so much that the digital can offer, but it's also about how do we integrate these really amazing practices and create a more holistic experience rather than try to look only in one direction. Yes, exactly. That's what I was talking about. The moderator, a roomie in charge of involving the zoomies. So I think that it's finding this balance that it's really powerful, and the presence of a mediator, of a person that can bridge, is really powerful.
I like the async options for contribution. I think this would make a big difference if that's possible, to have the offline mode and
yes,
still
Mira,
be able
if you can
to
hear
work.
us, we want to use Mira offline as well. What's a peanut gallery? Oh, and this shuffle, who's a roomie and a zoomie. So, like a, you know, changing the roles almost.
Well, it has to be how to say, a unique way to bridge this gap, because the challenges that we experience now that we've made the transition from fully digital to hybrid are different. So only a UX feature, we don't believe, is going to cut it. So it's time to put design to practice and get creative. And we also wanted to, since we are only left with a few minutes till the end of the session, we wanted to leave you.
I'm just gonna cut the timer.
We wanted to leave you with this question to think about and reflect for the rest of the day or even the week. What, in your opinion, stays true for empathy regardless of the environment? Somehow we wanted to open the door beyond the hybrid to put us in this mode of thinking of possibilities, but not to leave empathy out of it, and find these universal components that really should resonate and make a difference to the experience and the connection. And finally, I wanted to share 3 key takeaways that to me personally matter a lot when I work with empathy and our experience with empathy. What we have found is that empathy definitely requires a conscious commitment and effort to nurture trust. It will not happen unless you put the effort in it and you mind to it. Second, empathic connections lead to more creative ideas. So don't underestimate the role the empathy can play to creativity and innovation. And thirdly, product design would greatly benefit from consistent empathic insights, not one-off, but really consistent and a conscious effort to bring those needs and unmet needs to the surface through the power of insight. I think this is the end. We may have a minute for
to leave some
Yes.
time for Q&A.
We have a minute for a question, so perhaps we can answer one.
But even so, feel free to ask, and we'll try and stay a bit on the chat and just answer them there.
At the end of our board, we had included a link to the tool, Active Empathy, which is on Miroverse. Please feel free to play with it and also share a feedback with us.
Oh my God! So Amanda, you're awake at 5:45 a.m. just for us. Oh, thank you so much. We're really happy that you enjoyed, and feel free to reach us out. We'll be more than happy to share what we have in store, and just let us know. We're very happy to connect.
Have a wonderful day ahead, and thanks a lot for listening. Take care. Bye.